Welcome back to the infamous project, guys, and it is an exciting and sad episode at the same time. This is the final reveal of Chuck's 1991 GT, former race car, brought back to a street car, and I might have made it a little too nice for the street. We'll see, so stick around and be sure to see the full story and details on Chuck's 1991 GT. Alright guys, I'm fighting the Texas sun and the heat right now, and well, I'm not even underneath my carport, but I'll get to the shade when we reach the other side. I just wanted to show the car's beautiful paint right in the sunlight, in this direct sunlight. It is like the glory hour of photography. Just finished doing some really nice drive-bys and a couple little rolling videos. To a good friend Sean for helping me out with that, and we may or may not have run out of gas halfway through. What? Ah, we managed to get it done. So here's the car, right? It's been about a year and a half. It didn't take a year and a half to put the car together, but, right, good things come to those who wait, as they say. Chuck wasn't in any huge hurry. I think in a perfect world, he would have liked to have had it done for Foxtoberfest of last year, but just with, I guess, some of the changes, the timelines, and everything else, well, Motorcity Foxfest became the new deadline, and guys, we've made it. The truck is coming tomorrow to pick up this beauty. I have to stuff it with a bunch of his old parts and get it ready for the truck to pick it up tomorrow. So Chuck's the original owner of this car, guys. He bought this car brand new in 1991, and it went straight to a race car, gutted. The stock motor, stock transmission, everything removed. Ford 9-inch installed. I do not know what his original setup was. I'm sure he will chime in on the comments, but full cage. And when I say full cage, I mean full cage. Like, not only was there door bars and hoops, there was a round roof bars, A-pillar bars, there was a cargo net, hooks and clips in the driver's side. This thing was a serious monster on the racetrack. And then Chuck retired the car back in the late 90s, and it sat in storage up until he sent it to me at the beginning of 2023. So what does that mean? Well, that means original paint. It means this car has like 14,000 miles on it, give or take, somewhere around there. We're not 100% sure because race car miles versus street miles and what the original cluster said and everything else are all different. But that is how I got the car. I got it rolling on drag lights in the front, some old Ranger wheels on the back, strange race brakes on the back on the Ford 9, the factory 4-lug spindles were in the front, but it had 5-lug rotors up there, Flaming River manual steering, manual brakes, like you name it, full-blown race car. Not to mention the entire interior was gutted. There was nothing, no firewall insulation, Like, there was no insulation underneath the carpet, all of the sound deadening, like the butyl stuff, all gone. This car was stripped, okay? And now it is all put back together. So let's talk a little bit about the body and the car and everything that was done. Number one, we cut out the roll cage. It is gone. This is now, right? Easy access, easy entry, and you wouldn't even know that there was a roll cage in this car. And guys, if you see a few specks of dust or dirt, my apologies, right? It will be detailed up at Motor City, so you guys can be sure to check it out there. This is a factory carpet, and if you guys look real close, right, there's cutouts of where the old roll cage used to come through. But when you tuck things in a strategic way, you don't see them. The only thing that still exists from race car days, well, there's his muffler delete option if he wants them, through floor subframe connectors, okay? So they're still in there, hiding underneath the carpet, right? And so roll cage removed. Interior all reinstated, all of the sound deadening that belongs on the firewall, everything kill matted underneath, all the wiring that we needed run for the stereo. And guys, this thing had no dash in it. It did come with a dash frame, had to redo a bunch of the wiring. There was no heater box, so I had to put a heater box in, new heater core, new evaporator core, all of that good stuff to bring the interior back to life. It's the only thing that came kind of original and true to the car were the door panels. And amazingly enough, for his car being a 91, he actually has the 1990 style inserts, and these were covered in, or recovered I should say, in a color that is very similar to the exterior body color. But other than that, guys, it was a journey to get everything back to the state that it's in now, right? We got custom silver face gauges for our climate controls, for our gauge cluster, and I'm gonna follow up this video a little later on the interior, because once the sun goes down, then you guys will get a real good perspective and view of the LED lighting. And what's super cool is what's underneath these panels in the rear seat delete. So be sure to stick around or fast forward to the end if that's what excites you, because I want to show this in the dark. So the major thing when you got a roller is, well, going through the suspension, because it had the original K-member in it and racy setup. The rear brake setup is still on the 9-inch that Chuck had in the car, right? We used Foxbody brakes and their caliper brackets, which worked beautifully to get a Cobra rotor in the rear. And the kit did come with a Cobra caliper, all the hardware, all the shims, the lines, everything that you need. But I ended up swapping for a Taurus caliper for the larger bore to get the 30-70 split brake bias that matches the Cadillac ATS Brembo front calipers that are mounted on SN95 spindles. Now, for those of you that know or don't know, typically you cannot fit the Reimagined Maker's wheel with the ATS caliper. So if you're wondering how I did it, it does have the SNS kit that has the relocation bushings for the caliper to mount to the SN95 spindle, and it has that tiny little shim that shims out the space, or that shims out the rotor from the backside. So that's already working against us, as there's that small shim in there. But in addition to that, we have a 7mm spacer spacing out this front wheel, and I had to lightly take some material out of the face of the caliper, right? I ground it down a little bit to give us a, I don't know, business card's worth of clearance between the wheel and that front caliper. The underside here, we got a QA1 K-member, we got QA1 control arms, we have a 93 style steering rack, close ratio. There is a factory rag joint in it, and steering arm. Wanted to minimize vibrations and keep things, I guess, as, what's the word, comfortable as possible for the street. So we did not go with the solid mount steering shaft. But aside from that, that is the right front and rear rolling setup. Now, suspension. This is sitting on Ride Tech's Shockwave kit. So it is a full air ride setup. And right now the car is aired down. Now, for those of you that don't know what the Shockwave kit is, the Shockwave kit is now what has replaced the Cool Ride kit. The Cool Ride kit is the traditional old school air spring. So the bag would go in the place of where your coil spring would have gone. That doesn't exist anymore. Ridetech used to use Firestone bags. Firestone discontinued the bag that used to be used for the rear, and as a result, they just stepped away from the Cool Ride system completely and have now gone to a bag over strut. So it's like a coil over, but instead of having a coil spring over your strut and shock, you have an air bag, which is a slim bag. Now, you guys are gonna ask me which one rides better. I will share my opinion on that. From a high level, I'm gonna tell you this. There's a little bit more versatility on the old style setup with the bags versus this one. And this one by design is definitely more touch sensitive, meaning that a little bit of air definitely impacts your spring rate much greater than a larger style air bag, air spring setup. So I know air ride isn't everybody's thing. I can tell you this, the car drives extremely well. There's multiple settings on both the front and the rear, so you can treat it like Coney or you can treat it like whatever, your Strange, that are fully adjustable. And then by playing with the different air pressures is ultimately impacting your spring rate. So the car is sitting down right now. It can go high up enough to clear all the speed bumps or to get on any ramp to any trailer that you might be trying to put the car on, or whatever look and feel or drivability that you're after. And when I go through the interior, I will be showing you guys the controls, the air tank, and everything else. Or if you followed along, you would have seen all the videos on it. Let us now talk about the power plant of the car, because it's a pretty unique one. All right, we're a little dusty here, guys. My apologies for that. That's what happens when you live near drying out cornfields. So we'll have to blow this all off, but here we go. This motor and transmission originally came out of Justin's Black Notch project, and we did a couple little tweaks and additions to this to make it look and feel the way that it is here in front of you. So this is a stock bottom end. Got trick flow heads. I forget what the cam is off the top of my head, but most importantly, we got this super cool Kenny Bell Flowzilla blower from back in the day. And interestingly enough, the individual that originally did this setup reached out to me via email. He recognized Justin's car as his old one and sent me an email and was kind enough to send me all the details about the motor and everything else. Now guys, it was tuned for Texas heat. It's really hot here, and it only made about 400 to the rear wheels on 7 PSI. That was the last known tune that was on this thing. And you know what? That's pretty good for a street car of this nature, but I do believe Chuck is interested in seeing if a little bit more power or more efficiency can be made out of this setup. So one thing that you might notice that is not original paint is this engine bay. So once I had everything that was left over stripped out, the car went to Red Dog's custom paint and he shaved the whole bay out. And these aren't Scott Rod panels or inserts or anything else. This is all metal that's been welded in and filled, and even the insides on the inner fenders was finished and smooth to all look the part. And a beautiful job that he did. You can see all across the back firewall there and everything else. And one of the main hurdles about this setup was these air-to-air pipes. This is a super rare intercooled Kenny Bell setup, right? Typically, these pipes do not exist, and the air just comes from your throttle body in through the back, through the rotors, up and down into your intake. So instead, there's now a block-off plate on this side. The air is forced down through here, through an intercooler, if you can believe it or not, that's wedged in there, all the way back up and around. Now, originally these pipes used to go through the holes in the inner aprons here, and when the bay got all shaved out and smooth, who wants to cut holes in their freshly shaved engine bay? So I managed to sneak the piping down through and behind the headlights and down, and it was not easy, guys, but I managed to get it done. We also got a brand new AC condenser, so this car has all of the amenities and features, including ice cold AC. After a couple hurdles, if you guys have been watching the videos, but it does all work. So here you go. You can see some of the Ride Tech plates here that keeps things nice and clean and simple. Adjustability on the knob there. And of course, Chuck wanted to go with something that was unique in the bay and wanted a coppery bronze color, which you can see here. So all of that was taken apart and painted and coated. We re-gasketed, timing cover, water pump, oil pans, all the gaskets, all the things have been done. It's got Aeromotive fuel rails, full AN-8-6 from a quantum tank in the back, which I believe is like a 340, something of that nature. And it turned out great. For anybody wondering, killer glass coolant pipe. And it's just cool to see your vitals. It's a love or hate thing, but everybody that sees that pipe and sees the coolant in action actually thinks that it's a wonderful idea, because it automatically shows if, you know, you're taking good care of your coolant and everything else. So one other thing about this setup is, well, the fact that the Aeromotive fuel rails went on meant that they needed to put a spacer in between the lower intake, which in this case is the Cobra style or GT40 style lower, and the blower, raising the top end of the motor up by about ½ an inch, if not a little bit more, making things difficult because Chuck's #1, and I think it was like the only thing that he refused, was to remove his factory stock hood, right? So we needed to make sure that this motor would fit and that factory hood would close. So we've actually got drop motor mounts, which you can get from LMR. They're a nice piece. We dropped the motor down, I want to say ½ an inch, 5/8 of an inch, somewhere around there, because any lower actually got the oil pan onto the steering rack, because there's offset positioning for the rack to help with the bump steer of running SN95 spindles. So that helped with some, and we were still getting the slightest little bit of contact. So if you actually look at the underside of this hood, it's a little bit cleaner than you would normally see. So these support braces have been, I guess, modified, welded up, smooth. We chopped out some of the insulating foam and everything else, repainted the underside of the hood because the factory never gets paint in there. And now we can successfully close this stock hood. You can tell how nice and solid a car is by how well the hood closes and how the doors open and close. You can tell by the quarter moldings, everything else, how clean it is on this car. So let's talk about the exterior for a second. You can see we've complemented the bronzy copper theme with some custom emblem covers from Sinus Built, aka Tom Clark. Got some custom vinyl down here denoting the project name. If you're wondering what 450 means, well, it's a 5-0 for Chuck's 50th birthday. All right, so if you didn't know, now you know. We went with the newer S550 emblems, did a little bit of contrast there with the dot and the coppery gold. Got the fiddle fart billet antenna delete plate, also have the hood hinges and the door strikers. Guys, you can just see how beautiful this original paint is. There was a few corrections that we needed to make. There was a weird spot back here, so Red Dog actually just painted and blew in what needed to be done and nothing more. Okay, so the car's like 95% original paint. Of course, we got the maker's splitter, and that is painted body color. Kind of reflects the silver. This light titanium silver, it really reflects differently depending on which angle you get it on. You can see the difference between the bumper and the fender there. You go this way, and it almost kind of flip-flops on you. Especially, I want to say, the way that metallics were laid down in the early 90s, right? Bumper's more yellow than the hood, then you go like this, and then that looks more light, that looks darker. It's amazing to see such a low mile car and the original keys and how they're not worn out at all. And the keys aren't going to get any more worn out because we even added the additional amenities of the Fox lock setup, right? So we got all our door lock, unlock, hatch pop. So now we'll wait till the sun goes down and talk about the interior and in-car entertainment. The sun is down and we are back, ready to talk about lighting, interior, stereo, entertainment, so on and so forth. And this car presents just as cool at night as it does during the day. If you can't tell already, this car has got underglow, front, sides, front, interior, got a little bit of under hood, just a little something. Chuck made a remark the one day like, oh, I don't have anything underneath my hood, so I hid the little strip there underneath that pinch weld on the firewall. So you can see even the coolant pipe lights up, so once your coolant starts flowing through there, right, you get a little bit of the color through the water. And this thing is pretty sweet. My favorite part though are the gauges. You can see we also have courtesy style lights down on the bottom here in theme with the underglow. And that's actually an easy feature when you have a pre-90 car. Unfortunately, once we got to 90, I don't know why Ford got rid of that. It was actually a real nice feature, but check out these one-off gauges from Black Cat Customs that I did. Silver face, amber backlighting with the tip logo. Got the matching climate control gauges right there. Got the tip plaque. Project 5450, build number 37. Getting up there, guys. We're almost at 40. So you can see beautiful black interior. The panel inserts were already in the car, and you know what? They fit real nice with the silver stitching, diamond stitching, and these Recaro seats that I actually coughed up for Chuck. These were actually supposed to be for my 86 notch build, and they've been sitting around. Spike's been taking forever on my car, and I'm like, you know what, Chuck? We need to put Recaros in here. You got the rear seat delete, so why wouldn't you upgrade the seats? So in the back, again, don't mind the straight pipes. We got the custom K-Design stereo, back seat delete, install. We got all LED lighting. Again, it's all through a centralized remote on the system. Here's our air tank for the air ride. Got a tip logo on there. Optima battery box. That is actually a K-Design product. If anyone is interested, he's got a couple sneaky places where you can actually mount that in your inner fender, I believe. And we actually got a sticker for Bella on the top of that battery box or battery hold down for Chuck's late dog Bella. And of course we got our JL audio 10-inch sub, 5-channel amp, and everything just tied together real nice, right? Like the silver cover of the amplifier, the plate for the battery, the air tank, and everything looks really nice. And if you guys saw the stereo install video, you'd see that there's also covers that can go over all of this. So if you got your chairs, you got your coolers, or whatever it is. In this case, I got to put his old front seats and a bunch of his parts in the car when the truck comes tomorrow to pick it up. So that is pretty much it for the interior, guys, and the lighting. Again, I've gone over the whole 417 Fox install in terms of the climate control relocation and all that other good stuff, and how I wired up the system in the car, and it sounds great. And I almost forgot. The exhaust is BBK long tubes going into custom stainless H with an X. That's right, an H and X pipe. Stainless steel with 2 Flowmaster high flow cats going to the brand new FP Performance stainless mufflers to your traditional 2.5-inch GT tailpipes. This exhaust is stainless front to back and sounds great. I really like the sound of these FP Performance mufflers. And well, that's gonna do it for Chuck's 1991 GT. I gotta go get this thing in the shop now and start filling it up and getting it ready. I know Chuck is super excited to get the car back, and I am really excited for any of you guys that will be able to come and see this car at Motorcity Foxfest just in, we're like a week and a half away almost. So super excited for that. I know he's gonna have it at Foxtoberfest 2024 as well. So if you don't make it up to Motor City, you will be able to see the car at Foxtoberfest, and hopefully I'll see you there. You'll get to see Chuck there, you get to meet him, talk about the car, all the history and everything else. So there you have it, guys. Another build done and out the door. Thank you again for your support. Until next time, we'll see you back here on the Infamous Project.